So, a lot of people woke up yesterday and they had no idea that their life was about to change. So, no warning, no meeting on the calendar, and no quick chat from managers. Just a cold email, 6 a.m. They open it and it basically says that we have made a decision to eliminate your role. That's it, right? No conversation, no explanation, no goodbyes, just done. And this wasn't just a few people, it was thousands of folks that got laid off at Oracle. Across teams, across countries, right, across roles. And the more you look into it, the more you realize that this isn't really just a layoff story. This is a preview of what's coming next. So let's slow this down for a second and let's take a look at what actually happened. So, according to the reports, Oracle began laying off thousands of employees globally, and some estimates are suggesting that the number could go as high as 20 to 30,000 jobs. And this is the important point. People didn't find out about it in meetings, they basically found out about it through emails, early morning cold emails. And the company is calling it restructuring, cost optimization, organizational changes. But let's translate that into normal language. The company is basically changing how it works. And it doesn't need the same number of people anymore, like a lot of other companies. And here's the part that most people don't expect. This is not happening because Oracle is struggling. Most layoffs in companies happen when the company is in trouble. So things like revenue down, losses are up, or something broke internally. But that's not what's happening here. Oracle is actually making a massive push into AI. And not just small AI, we're talking about huge infrastructure bets. And even bigger, the company is part of a 500 billion AI infrastructure initiative. 500 billion. Let that sink in for a second. So, what's exactly happening? Oracle is not exactly shrinking, it's transforming its business. So, old Oracle was software, enterprise sales, large teams, but the new Oracle is much leaner, AI infrastructure, data centers, automation, and smaller, more efficient teams. So, this isn't just cost cutting, it's basically replacement at this point, right? And here's the part that people don't fully understand. There is a trade happening right now in tech. And it's pretty simple. Companies are trading people off for infrastructure. So think about it like this, right? AI requires massive compute, and that compute requires massive investment. And that money has to come from somewhere. And one of the fastest ways to free up cash is basically layoffs. And so some estimates are suggesting that cutting tens of thousands of jobs could free up about $8 to $10 billion in costs. And that money doesn't disappear. It basically gets redirected into servers and GPUs, into AI models. So what you're seeing is not just layoffs, it's basically a reallocation of resources from human into machines. And if you think that this is just Oracle, it's not, because across 2026, more than 40,000 tech workers have already been laid off this year. And companies like Amazon, Meta, Microsoft are all making very similar moves. And the reason is always the same, right? AI. But here's what's different this time. This is the first time in history where technology is not just assisting workers, it's basically replacing entire categories of work. So let's talk about the human side for a second, because this is where it gets real. So if you go on Reddit, you'll see posts like, I got this 6 a.m. email without any warning and I was laid off. The entire team has gone overnight. Managers didn't even know that layoffs are happening. And the feeling across these posts is basically the same. There's shock, confusion, betrayal. But there's something a little deeper that's happening, which is people are beginning to realize that this wasn't random. It wasn't also performance based. It was a lot more systemic at this point. And a lot of people are asking, why would a company do this so coldly? No meetings, no calls, just emails. And the answer is very, very uncomfortable. This is because at this scale, human processes just don't work anymore. When you're laying off these thousands of people, you don't do conversations, you do systems. And those systems are designed to minimize legal risk, prevent leaks, and you gotta move fast when you're doing stuff like this. But there's also another reason behind all of this, which is it's kind of scalable. And this is what large organizations optimize for. They don't optimize for emotion, they basically are optimizing for efficiency. And now here's the part that feels almost very, very wrong, which is after these layoffs, Oracle stock actually went up. And so think about it. People lose these jobs and then the market rewards the company. Why? Well, it's pretty simple, because investors see lower costs, higher margins, and more efficiency in the company. And so to Wall Street, layoffs mean that the company is becoming more optimized. So the real reason is AI. And I'm going to say this directly that these jobs, I'm pretty sure they're not coming back because AI doesn't just replace effort, it replaces entire workflows. So before it used to be one engineer writing code, one tester, one manager that reviews everything. But now it's basically AI writing the code and AI testing it, and then one human sort of oversees all of these processes. And that's a 3x to 5x reduction in people needed. And the companies are realizing this, and they're realizing it very, very fast. But here's something most people don't consider. This strategy is actually very risky because the thing is that when you remove people, you lose things like institutional knowledge, you lose experience, you lose context, and that creates problems like systems breaking, slower innovation, hidden bugs that nobody understands, and the biggest risk is that AI is not perfect yet. So companies are making a bet that efficiency is going to outweigh those risks. And the hidden layer is basically money, right? Oracle is spending heavily on AI, and that comes with massive capital expenditure, large infrastructure investments. And just take a look at this stat. Oracle expects about $2.1 billion in restructuring costs. And this is not a small decision. This is actually very high stakes bet. So now I'm going to talk about the scary part, that most people think that layoffs happen suddenly. Well, they don't. They happen slowly and then all at once. So first you'll see things like hiring slow down, and then you'll see things like teams shrinking, and then roles getting merged, and then finally those layoffs really happen. And by the time people notice, well, it's already too late. So what does this mean for all of you watching? Well, if you're an employee, you cannot really rely on stability anymore. Not in tech, not in corporate, and you have to think a little bit differently. So if you're early in your career, this is the hardest moment because entry-level roles are the easiest ones to automate. But if you're a little bit experienced, you're kind of a little bit safer, but only if you evolve. So to close all of this, let's talk about what actually matters. What should you do right now? Because fear doesn't really help, right? Strategy does. So number one would be learn to work with AI, not against it, because AI can do your job, but you need to be the person who uses AI better than everyone else. And you kind of need to become outcome driven at this point and not task driven. If your value is, well, I just complete these tasks that are given to me, well, I hate to say this, but you're kind of replaceable. So the real value is being able to solve complex problems. The other thing is that you kind of need to build leverage, right? Skills are good, but leverage is much, much better. So that means things like content distribution, a personal brand, a network. Don't just depend on one income. And this is kind of critical because one job has now one point of failure. So you got to think like a builder, even if you're employed, because the future belongs to the people who can create, adapt, and move really, really fast. So let's go back to the moment, right? 6 a.m., your phone opens and everything changes. Again, not just a layoff, it's basically a signal that rules are changing, that the game is changing, and you've got to be ready for anything in today's world. Well, I hope that this video added some value to your life, and make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be posting more content like this on this channel, and I'll see you in the next one.